Am I the asshole for not allowing my adopted son to choose the movie on family movie night? I, 45M, have 4 sons. 3 biological, 17M, 15M, 12M, and 1 adopted, 13M. We adopted Jake, our youngest, when he was 3 years old. He came from a really difficult background, and we've always tried to give him as much love and support as possible. But if I'm being honest, it hasn't been easy. Jake has always been more of a challenge compared to my other boys. He's extremely sensitive and gets upset over the smallest things. Due to the trauma he experienced early on, Jake is mentally and emotionally more like an 8 or 9-year-old, even though he's 13. This isn't because of any special needs. It's just the result of what he's been through. When he was younger, he struggled a lot in school, to the point where he was eventually expelled from his primary school for behavioral issues. It was a really tough time for our family. We ended up enrolling him in a SEMH, social, emotional, and mental health, school, which costs around £70,000 per year. While the school has helped him somewhat, Jake still causes a lot of problems. The school often calls us because Jake's had a meltdown or couldn't handle something, and it's clear he needs a lot more attention than our other kids. At home, Jake's neediness can be overwhelming. He's constantly seeking reassurance and gets upset if things don't go exactly his way. My wife has always been very patient with him, maybe too patient, in my opinion. She tends to cater to his needs a lot more than the other boys, and I can see it starting to wear on them. I can tell they're starting to feel like Jake gets special treatment. Earlier today, during our usual Saturday family movie night, this issue came to a head. We always vote on the movie to keep things fair. The older boys and I wanted to watch the first Avengers movie. When we voted, Jake was the only one who wanted to watch Spider-Verse instead. Jake loves Spider-Verse, and we've watched it several times before. Seeing how upset Jake was getting, my wife suggested that we just watch Spider-Verse to avoid a meltdown. She felt it wasn't worth the fight and wanted to keep the peace, especially considering how sensitive Jake is. But I felt like it wasn't fair to the other boys who had won the vote fairly. I said no, we're sticking to the movie that won the vote. Jake, predictably, got really upset, stormed off to his room, and refused to come back downstairs. After the movie, my wife and I had a huge argument. She said I was being too harsh, and that I don't understand how difficult things are for Jake because of his past. She thinks I should have just let him have his way to avoid the conflict, but I'm tired of walking on eggshells and constantly giving in to Jake at the expense of the other boys. I don't think it's right to let Jake dictate everything just because he's more sensitive. Am I the asshole for not letting my adopted son choose the movie on family movie night, even though it upset him and led to a huge argument with my wife? I know you've got him enrolled in the fancy private school, but are you guys working with a family therapist? Because if not, it sounds like you really need one. You've got to figure out a way to support Jake while helping him learn to tolerate frustration and not getting his way. If he doesn't learn that, he's going to have a terribly lonely, limited life. It sounds like you aren't working with a therapist yet, which means that between you and your wife, all of your kids need support and Jake needs structure and balance, not coddling. Info: is Jake often outvoted? Do you ever take turns to ensure everyone gets to choose? Or each month someone puts in a movie choice into a hat, then pick one out each week until all have been watched? Not the asshole. You said your son has no special needs, Op? Has he been screened for autism and possible anxiety disorders? What you've described are common autistic traits: being immature for his age, constant need for reassurance, can't redirect him from a meltdown if things don't go his way, change resistant, etc. Get him screened, if you haven't already. If he is truly higher functioning autistic, there are therapies that will help him gain some control over his behaviors and actions. For context, I raised 2 daughters on the autism spectrum with very different autistic traits. My youngest is high functioning, which your adopted son reminded me of. Nah. That sounds like a stressful situation. I would however suggest switching a rotating schedule to choose rather than a voting system. That way it is consistently his turn to pick at predictable intervals. Not the asshole your wife means well, but she's teaching Jake that if he complains loudly enough he'll get his way, or at least his mom will be on his side. You are right, not fair to the other 3 kids. Ask them to vote and then switch the movie so Jake doesn't have a meltdown.
I hope Jake is seeing doctors, counselors, etc. to try to identify what his main issues are.
Your wife seems willing to pacify Jake at the expense of her other 3 sons. Why do you keep insisting that he has no special needs? That the developmental delays, anxiety, difficulty in self-regulation and neediness are likely the result of trauma rather than chance or genetics doesn't mean he doesn't have special needs. You sound kind of set on seeing him as problematic instead of as having some problems.
Do you make the distinction at home that he's adopted as clearly as you make it in your post? Are your other children permitted to belabor that point? Anyway, set up a schedule for taking turns picking the movie. Either straight-up dealer's choice or the person whose turn it is chooses 2 or 3 titles and everyone else votes which one. Obviously, you and your wife set the boundaries about rating, themes, and content. Am I the asshole for insisting my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have to come? My husband's parents died in this car accident right after we was married. He had 2 younger siblings that was 13 and 15. So we moved into the home and raised them and we get the death benefit to help out.
So now I'm 26 and they are 15 and 17.
I don't know what my family deal is, but they have always treated them kind of shitty. I know they really aren't my parents' grandchildren, but I am legally their guardian and they are orphans. I'm in no way resentful of the situation.
My mom planned a vacation to Disney World and Universal Studios for the family. We are all staying in separate hotels and it's around Halloween, fall break. My mom never said anything and I assumed the teens could come, but mom just said it's for family only and my husband and I was invited, but not the teens. I told my mom they are my family and my brother and sister are bringing their kids.
My mom said the teens would make things uncomfortable because my nibblings are much younger. I told my mom she can't seriously expect us to leave the teens at home, and if I'm paying, why does it matter?
My mom said none of the other siblings of the spouses are going and it's just too awkward for our family involved and they understand if we can sit it out.
I have already told the teens we are going. We have reservations, park tickets and plane tickets.
My mom said she just wanted some family time without the teens constantly tagging along and I should understand that. I told my mom she straight up sounded selfish and evil right now, so I guess she needs to get her priorities in order, and mom told me the rest of my family agrees, and I told them that's if they choose not to hang with us on vacation, but that doesn't change what I think about them.
Not the asshole. I can't believe your parents would want you leave what are essentially your children behind.
On a family vacation.
To Disney World.
They are tush here.
Kudos to you and your husband for taking care of the younger siblings. Enjoy your vacation, which will likely be better without the others anyway if they feel that way about your family. Not the asshole.
Did I read that you were paying your own way?
If so, what do you mean your mother planned it?
What exactly did she plan?
If she isn't paying, who goes is none of her business. Take your teens, have a great time, try to start cutting back contact with the very nasty mother. You don't need toxic vile people in your life.
When, if you ever have biological children of your own, remember that the mother who can't wait to see the baby, can't wait to babysit, is the exact same heartless person who is turning her back on orphans. Don't let her try to pretend she's not evil. Edit typo. Not the asshole families come in all shapes and sizes and you have been raising these kids for the last 2+ years. Just because they aren't, technically, your mom's grandchildren and are, technically, your sister-in-law doesn't mean anything honestly. You are their guardian, they are still kids and you are helping to raise them while helping them through such a horrible tragedy.
They are 100% your family and should be treated as such. Not the asshole. At all.
Poor kids.
You've already booked and planned everything. Just go, but don't bother with your family. Just have fun with your husband and the teens.
Honestly.
It's not as if they were paying for it. Not the asshole. Go with your family of 4 and create great memories. See if you can switch the days you go to each park, but if not available, just focus on having a good time.
Your family is cruel, don't let them hurt your kids.
Am I the asshole for telling my biological son to stop calling me Mom? Throwaway.
So long story short, when I, 40F, was a teenager I had a baby and gave him up for adoption.
I did this through an agency and one of the stipulations of the contract required the adoptive parents to provide my contact information to him after he was an adult so that if he ever wanted to contact me, he could. Sure enough, 18 years later I get a letter in the mail and he wants to meet. I said yes and his mom flew with him to meet me in my state. We had a great visit and it was amazing getting to know the great young man he grew up to be. We have kept in contact over the last couple years. I let him meet my kids and let him form a brotherly bond with them.
Then he started calling me mom. It feels weird to me for him to call me that, and it feels disrespectful to his mom, who I think is amazing to be so forthcoming and supporting of him having a relationship with me and my family.
I really didn't want to hurt him, but I explained my feelings to him about a week ago and I haven't heard from him since.
While it is common for us to go for long periods of time without talking, I have a feeling that this particular bout of silence is due to him being upset, and I am feeling guilty about it.
Am I the asshole here?
No assholes here. However, reach out to your son and ask if he is okay. Maybe clarify in writing that although you are his mother, you don't feel that you deserve the title of mother or mom. That you value your relationship. You are the older person here, step up and communicate.
You are the asshole. I feel you, I really do.
But imagine hearing that from the same mom that put you up for adoption. Adoptive kids already have to work through the identity issues and wondering why you gave them up. But then to meet and think things are great, but don't call me mom.
Heartbreaking.
We talk about adoption a lot, but usually from the POV of the adoptee.
The parents who give their children up for adoption also go through emotional trauma as well.
It sounds like you are trying to develop a relationship with your son that is healthy.
For you, this might mean he needs to find another way to refer to you. You are not in the wrong to want this.
Nah. You are the asshole. While I'm not saying you rejected him by giving him up for adoption, ensure that was not easy. To a kid, that's exactly how it feels. Then he met you, got comfortable, formed a bond with his siblings, and then you rejected him all over again by telling him not to call you mom. As a kid whose dad has done something similar, you likely ruined any potential relationship because he won't ever rebuild that level of trust with you.
Nah. You're not his mom. You're the woman who gave birth to him, and there is a difference.
Nah. That is a big step you should both agree on.
It's sweet that he feels that way, but he should have thought to discuss it with you first. Are you working with a counselor during your reconnection?
My aunt did that when she reconnected with my cousin who she had given up for adoption, and it really helped with these kinds of issues.
Am I the asshole for how I handled my brother's girlfriend's comments about my boyfriend?
I, 22F, recently introduced my boyfriend, 23M, to my family for the first time. My brother, 19M, and his girlfriend, 21F, were there as well. For some context, my brother is 6 feet 5, his girlfriend is 6 feet 2, and my boyfriend is 5 feet 9 inches. When my brother first saw my boyfriend, he looked at me with a surprised expression and said, "I didn't know you liked younger men."
I was taken aback and immediately corrected him, saying that my boyfriend is actually older than both of us.
My brother looked a little embarrassed and apologized, saying he genuinely thought my boyfriend was 18 or something. That could have been the end of it, but then his girlfriend decided to chime in, making things worse.
She started by teasing my boyfriend about his height, saying things like, "Aw,
it's so cute how you're shorter than me," and brother's name, and then escalated to calling him quite pitiful.
She even joked, "It's like you're a little kid standing next to him."
How does that even work? My brother, seeing that things were getting uncomfortable, told her to shut up, but she just rolled her eyes and said, "Yes, sir," in a sarcastic tone. After that, she didn't even bother paying attention to us and spent the rest of the dinner clinging to my brother, barely engaging with anyone else. The rest of the dinner was fine, but the damage had already been done. My boyfriend was polite throughout, but later, when we were alone, he admitted he felt humiliated and was upset that my brother's girlfriend would be so rude. After the dinner, my brother made her apologize, but it was clear she didn't mean it and was only doing it because he made her.
I'm really mad at both my brother and his girlfriend.
While my brother did apologize, the whole situation has left a bad taste in my mouth, and I haven't spoken to either of them since. My brother insists I'm overreacting and that it was all just a joke.
Am I the asshole for being upset and not letting this go?
And she sounds someone who has never evolved past being a high school bully.
She sounds like a miserable person who wants to bring others down.
It wasn't a joke, since jokes are supposed to be funny.
She probably was hiding behind the guise of a joke to not face accountability for her behavior. Not the asshole, but you are the asshole for not immediately sticking up for your boyfriend. That behavior wasn't called for and you should have uncomfortably shut her down immediately.
Your brother took steps to correct the situation, so it's honestly weird of you to be mad at him. But not yourself.
Not the asshole, the girlfriend was so mean and dishonest when apologizing, so it's fair you dislike her.
Your brother technically made her apologize and apologized himself, but he's making excuses saying it was just a joke, when it clearly wasn't funny to you both, so there's a reason to be upset at him too. You didn't say anything? Like your brother had to tell her to shut up while you watched your significant other get humiliated?
So since this is all just a joke, you'll be saying, "Hey, how's the weather up there, Gigantor?"
So you have your own atmosphere? The next time you meet up.
Will that also be a joke? Info: why aren't you speaking to your brother? He actually stepped in to stop the comments while it seems you did and said nothing.